Welcome to the Beyond Electric Sheep podcast. I'm Brick Thompson.
And I'm Ed Daniels.
So, Ed, we wanted to talk a little bit about robotics, I think. Robotics that are starting to incorporate potentially these LLM tools that we're using and what we think might be coming. Yeah. So anyway, you've written a book, or you've written it and you're publishing it soon, that it's about sort of the future of firefighting. That was in your past. You were a fire chief. And your thoughts, I remember when you first wrote the book 10 years ago, your thoughts about how robotics would come to play there. You've rewritten a new version that's updated with the latest stuff. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Right. Well, my original idea was that, AI, but especially robotics, ultimately was going to be able to take over a lot of firefighting tasks, and that that would have an impact. And so a lot of the book is about the impact that automation or robotics can have on firefighting and firefighters, especially when they find that maybe some of the most exciting part of their jobs might be going away because of the advent of these robots.
And the most exciting is a structure fire where you get to go save people.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy recently, just an acquaintance I ran into with another friend. He's a firefighter here in town, and they had 3 structure fires in the last month, which seemed like a lot, including one where they sort of had to go and save some dogs. Luckily, there were no people there.
Yeah.
But, and I could tell that's the fun part of the job.
He started getting ramped up, I'm sure, and excited. In a way, you're sort of reliving the experience, and it's like such a rush and such a both physical and mental challenge. It's a zen moment. Your mind goes sort of blank on any other subject. You're not worried about picking up the groceries or your kid's in trouble or, you're having trouble with the wife or whatever it is. You're focused 100% on that, and it's a physical endurance challenge. So there's a lot of things about that you could, in a way, get addicted to. You love it, you hate it, you don't want to see people in trouble, but on the other hand, the fact that you're there and able to save the day is just a remarkable thing.
It's an interesting angle. So you got this job where some of it you have to do, like pulling the weeds. I mean, there's no weeds, but, so to speak. And the payoff is getting to really help people and deal with these things, and some of that may go away.
And that's sort of the thesis of this book, which in a way is an example of what we could all experience in our lives, maybe not quite in such a whatever thrilling or dramatic way, but I guess that's what books are, have to take advantage of those kind of things to be able to crystallize our thinking. But that's the idea of the book, is that these humanoid firefighters start sort of moving in on the territory of firefighter's job, and perhaps the most rewarding part of it.
It's interesting because, robotics has been around for a while. I remember when my son was in high school, he's 25 now, but he was on the First Inspires robotics team at his high school, and I helped coach that team. I'm still on the board for that. I was just down in Denver for their competition, their regional competition last Saturday.
Was that fun?
It's great. It's so much fun, yeah. The robots have gotten a lot more sophisticated in just 10 years. It's amazing what they do with vision and autonomous activities. Used to be, there was always an autonomous part, but they were kind of like, okay, try to go forward 6 inches and turn. And now they have vision that actually sees the goal and zeroes in and understands physics and does all kinds of stuff. There's a part that's teleoperated as well. But I think, robotics for the last couple of decades has been like the things you'd see in a car factory that are moving doors around or doing whatever, but not smart. They're just programmed machines that are almost like an assembly line machine. But what's coming now is thinking robots that are sort of autonomous, hopefully not too autonomous, but that's the big change that's coming here.
Yeah, and I think the exciting thing about the book for me is that this is about the pop, and it just hasn't quite popped yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be coming, and it's being teased by Elon Musk and Figure, which was originally sort of a spin-off of OpenAI, but I think they're now developed their own models. But I think the technology is that we got these mechanical actuators which you coached people on, and then some of them were remote or teleoperated, and then now they'd be able to become a little more reflexive and programmed. But now when we add in the large language models and multimodal models as drivers or supervisors of the more local control software that's built into them, now all of a sudden this allows a robot to be thinking like a large language model, to be able to interact with a wide language, to not have to write the specific code, because you can have the model write the code to actuate the device. So, I think within the next, it's 2025 now, within the next year to 5 years to 10 years for sure, we're going to see these things functioning and actually taking over a lot of jobs. As I was mentioning, I was listening to the Figure CEO talking about how their plan was to implement first in manufacturing environments where they felt they could have a little more control, but then ultimately move into the home. And so, that's a little less control.
Is Figure not the company that's going to the home first for some testing?
They were going to, well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said multimodal, so so that's just that these machines, these robots, can understand video input,
yep.
Graphical input, audio, text. They can understand a person's talking.
Right.
They're not. You don't just have to run a control box or type into something. Like, you can interact with these things.
Have you heard Jensen Huang? I think is his name, Wang, the CEO of NVIDIA. Talk about this. I mean, they are all into robotics.
Yeah, they have a huge, I think, simulated physics models that you can train these robots with.
Right.
That know a lot about the world, and you can run millions of simulations to get them to be able to do stuff better.
Yeah, so I think that model is probably going to be adopted by other players, probably already has been.
I think so, yeah. I mean, we're seeing that in self-driving. That's how you do it.
Yep.
Although I think a lot of that is based on training data, actual recordings from cars.
Right.
Probably, actually, I know they simulate as well.
Yeah, so if you think about it, what about the NVIDIA model of having a simulated physics environment plus then a training computer or chip, and then also the actual control system itself, so that multi-layered environment, and in that way, these, I think, robots are going to be able to be brought out into production a lot faster than the old-fashioned way of actually having to train them in the physical world.
I think that's right. It's interesting too, the form factor of these things. So I have a robot vacuum mop machine. Actually, I have one on a couple floors, and it works great. It's amazing. It maps out. It gets around obstacles. It will screw up every now and then. Like we have a dog that had an accident.
A real dog.
It spread that all over the place. But oops. And I remember reading sci-fi as a kid and reading I, Robot, Asimov's book, and the 3 laws of robotics and all that. And you had humanoid robots, and sci-fi has always had those, but it seems sort of contrived. Like, why would that be the best form factor? Turns out it probably is, because the world is built for humanoid-shaped things, us.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to figure out how to do stairs if it's a human. It has to figure it out, but it can do it. That type of thing.
And I just was hearing today that Elon wants to, he obviously wants to get to Mars, but he wants to bring an Optimus humanoid robot to Mars to, sort of as an initial step.
It's going to be an interesting race. I remember Boston Dynamics coming out with their Atlas a few years ago, and it was sort of mind-blowing. Very robotic, though.
Right.
And now they have robots that move like humans. It's quite astounding. There are still specialized form factors. I was just out at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, a couple months ago, and those little dog form factor robots are everywhere. For some reason, I find those kind of menacing. Maybe it was that Black Mirror episode where they were chasing people around with guns on them. But I'm sure there'll be all kinds of specialized form factors.
In my book, I have several different types of form factors, including an improvement on your home house cleaning robot that it looks more like a dog. But I've also got some four-legged robots, for example, for wildland firefighting, if you think about that. You know, if you're a firefighter, you got to go out there and slog through the woods and try to, build a fire line to stop the fire. And if you had some four-legged assistants, some maybe small, but some maybe elephant size, like I propose, those could be pretty handy tools.
They could, yeah. And while I was at CES, I saw one of these things. It had four legs, but it had wheels on the end of the legs.
Yes.
So it could walk, but it could also roll.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy looking.
Yeah.
The vacuum robots, the one I have is by a company called Robotic. They're great. And in fact, I think I heard that, is it iRobot that had the Roombas, that they may be going out of business, unfortunately.
Which
they pioneered.
seems strange, but...
I think they were about to be acquired, and it fell through, and somehow...
Well, I want the name.
Yeah. What's that?
I want the rights to the name.
I know.
iRobot,
I know. Really good.
Yeah.
So this thing, I was looking at their stuff out at CES, and now they have one with an arm. So if it comes to some underwear or socks or something, it sometimes will jam up the little wheel. It picks it up and can drop it on its back or drop it in a box.
Right.
But I can see very quickly, if you could add a little bit of smarts to it, an LLM, you could start talking to that thing. So just mine's in the laundry room. Just go in and say, hey, mop the kitchen. And it would go do that instead of getting on the app and doing it.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. We are going to see stuff pretty quickly. Humanoid robots in the house, I don't know. They got to be expensive. They're heavy. I think there's some injury risk there, but I'm sure that's coming too.
Right.
Imagine how useful that will be for the aging populations that all of the developed world is going to be seeing. You think about Japan, where it's just everybody's getting gray, and there's not enough young people to care for old people.
Yeah, I have this scene in the book about these robots, and it's fairly distant in the future, but it's a nursing home, and there's all these old people in there that are have cognitive impairments. They're not quite with the program, and like the fire alarm goes off, and all these firefighting robots show up, and then the people go completely bananas because all of a sudden there's all these robots running around trying to help them. Don't worry, we'll take care of you.
Right.
No, stay away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's going to be some adjustment there, for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's fun to talk about. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.